Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas, the official podcast of Somos Mas NM and your source for the latest news and notes on New Mexico United. It is Tuesday night. We are live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube as well. If you're online, hop in the chat. Throw your questions and comments up there throughout the show. We'll be getting to those as we go through the show. Joining me tonight, as always, we have Jacob Terrell. Earl is not with us tonight. Earl had to work out of town today. And so he actually just left work just a short time ago. So Earl, safe travels on your drive back into town on your way back towards the Albuquerque area this evening. But yeah, we've got a lot to get to, guys. It's been a fantastic week. Opening weekend is in the books, and we cannot wait to talk about this show. But before we do get into our New Mexico United news and notes for the week, as well as our preview of El Paso this coming weekend, Jacob, I do have one burning question for you. Fuck Tom Brady.
That's more of a statement, and it sounds like it's coming from a bitter Atlanta fan. But yeah, I'll say I won't say that actually. No.
Yeah, I didn't think you would, but yeah, you know, it's
if Earl was here, he would be right there with you, but.
He just might. He might be, but it's been 22 years. He's had 22 seasons in this league. It's time to move on.
Nah.
And I've been seeing all these memes and things about it now, saying that Tom basically after like a month and a half at home with his wife and kids said he couldn't do that anymore. Figured he'd rather come get sacked a few times instead of be with his wife and kids. So I've seen that around social media a little bit. I've also seen a report today saying that what was supposed to have been his last touchdown pass ever was bought at auction for a little over $500,000. And I feel bad for that guy. Like I really do. And I guess there's a chance that ball could still be worth something at some point, if it is, in fact, if somehow it's the last postseason touchdown that Tom Brady ever throws.
Can I say that I don't feel bad for that guy? He had $500,000 to spend on a fucking football. I don't feel bad for him at all.
Yeah, I certainly see your point of view, but yeah, it's just one. I mean, if you don't ever retire, I mean, just move on, Tom. It's time for someone else to come in, and yeah.
Yeah, no, he's fine. That guy that's fine. That guy that paid for that football is fine. Tom Brady's fine. It's fine. Just leave him be. Okay.
Well, of course you're happy. You are a Buck fan, so
No, I mean, my expectations for this year without Tom were playoffs, and my expectations with Tom is okay. We're gonna be in the playoffs. It's like we might be in the playoffs to we're in the playoffs, but I'm not sitting here going, oh yeah, we're for sure in the playoffs. We're gonna win a championship. Yada yada yada. That's not where. Like I'm not 100% sure we're gonna even compete for a championship. It depends on what we do in free agency and how some things shake out. But I will say that we're definitely better off with him than without him.
Yeah, that's true. I really think the only other competition at this point, as far as I can see it, is the Packers still. But it's because basically the NFC South, NFC South is just, I don't know what Carolina's doing.
Nothing.
Saints, Alvin Kamara may be suspended. We all know what happened with Calvin Ridley, and like the Falcons are $11 million under the cap. Or I'm sorry, they're not $11 million under the cap. They're about $4 million under the cap with Calvin Ridley being suspended. But it's the NFC South is the Bucks to win with Brady being back. So,
yeah. And that's why I feel confident with playoffs with Tom Brady. Whereas before, I mean, I felt like we could make the playoffs without him, depending on what we did at quarterback. But with him, we're just, I mean, I hesitate to say a guarantee, but as close to a guarantee as you can get in professional sports, we're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. So the Tom Brady era is not done.
Especially in the NFC, because like you mentioned, there's just not a whole lot going on in the NFC.
Yeah, with the Russell Wilson trade and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's.
You
I
have
really think it's going to come down to, and this is way early predictions. I think it's going to come down to Green Bay and Tampa Bay. That's just my thoughts on it.
I mean, the Rams are going to be the Rams still, and San Fran looked frisky at times, so they could do something. But get out of here, Aaron! Get out of here. The AFC West part, I'm fine with, because the AFC West is kind of stacked right now.
Yeah.
But this last part here, we're just gonna ignore that.
There you go. Jacob deserves that one right there. Did you watch any Champions League today?
No, I had it on, but we had other stuff going on around the house, and I didn't get off work till about 6, so I had other things that I had to do. But I was following it. I just didn't watch it.
Okay, yeah. So I left work, or left my office at about 2:30 today. Came home, worked a few more hours. Shoot me, please. I've now worked 22 hours in the past 2 days. But I found out that Paramount Plus had a side by side stream of the two matches that were on this. So you had Man United on one side and you had the Benfica match on the other. So it was really interesting that they were switching the commentary back and forth between the two broadcasts. But yeah, I hadn't seen them do that before. But it was really nice to see. So Atletico, of course, advances, and then Benfica advances as well. So, I don't know. I mean, it was just fun to watch. It was fun to see that, and I think I'll probably be able to see Chelsea and whoever tomorrow. So, looking forward to that. Yeah,
Lil,
yeah. Juventus and Villarreal. So, I really like how the Champions League does their structure, like how they set it up to both kick off at the same time, and how they're doing all this. So there's no I guess screen watching, or scoreboard watching to find out.
But in Champions League, it's not like who you're going to play next.
That's true,
because they're doing a draw. Well, I mean, eventually there is, but I could be wrong. But I believe that they're still in the process of not having a set bracket, like that's still a round or two away. So, I am vehemently against having kickoffs at the same time, basically for anything except for maybe like week 17 of the NFL. But the way the USL does it, which yesterday was better, or Saturday was better, but you still had all the Western Conference games in a 2-hour window, basically. And I get it, but at the same time, it's like you could have a kickoff at like 1:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday for Phoenix every once in a while. At this time of year, maybe not in August, but at this time of year, why not have Phoenix play a 1:00 in the afternoon game?
Yeah.
Or Orange County or San Diego, somebody.
Yeah.
Like just because they play in California doesn't mean they have to kick off at 8:00 all time.
Yeah, that's why I love like West Coast baseball trips. You get the 10 a.m. game. Like, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree with you on the USL scheduling. I wish they would kind of spread it out a little bit more, because I would gladly sit down and watch USL championships all day long. But, and we've kind of talked about it before, I think it really comes down to the broadcaster and whatever the deal they have with ESPN Plus. And I think maybe there's only certain time when slots that they can put programming on. I think that's what it comes down to.
For ESPN, maybe, but ESPN Plus is a streaming service. It shouldn't matter what time you have kickoffs on a streaming service. I mean, unless they're trying not to compete with like the Bundesliga contract that they have, but I can almost guarantee you that the people that are watching the Bundesliga games are going to watch the Bundesliga games over the USL games. I mean, yeah. I love the USL, obviously, but if you're a Bayern Munich fan and they're kicking off at 10:30 here in New Mexico, and this random Orange County RGV match is going to happen at 11, unless Byron's up by 4 at 30 minutes in, I'm not going to turn it to the Orange County match.
Well, if they're playing Salzburg again, you never know.
Right, which is possible sometimes. I don't know. It's weird to me.
Yeah, no, I get it, and we've kind of had these conversations before, and we've talked to. I think we actually talked to David Carl about it once, and he did mention that there was set windows, or they were given like 2 options to start the match in, and so they had to, pick which one they felt better suited. And so, because we've asked them before about starting matches earlier and doing, because I love the 5:05 kickoffs. Like, I wish we could do that more.
Yeah,
especially now, with the weather the way it is. It's just now changing. But yeah, I would love to see more 5:05 kickoffs, and now, or like October, November, maybe even in like September, October, November, you could see like a 3:00 kickoff or something like. I would love to see that.
Well, Saturday, our next home game, Saturday the 26th, is at 4.
Yeah,
and I like that.
Here, a question in the chat: do y'all have Hulu Plus? Wild that all ESPN Plus events are on there now. Do you need the ESPN Plus sub still? So if you have the Disney Plus bundle, which includes Disney, Hulu, ESPN, you just need the one subscription. Now, if you're only paying for Hulu Plus, that I don't know.
I believe that it is not, the ESPN Plus content is not on there if you have Hulu Plus.
Okay.
You still have to have the ESPN Plus package or ESPN Plus subscription. I could be wrong, but that's the way I understood it last year recently when they changed to like a different kind of bundle, or you had the option for a different bundle. I think that's still what it was, but I'm not an expert, so.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because I remember, I think it was at one point last year, we were getting ready for the show or something. I was like, hey, there's ESPN stuff on Hulu now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's because I do have the big bundle, the Disney Plus bundle. And no, I completely agree. It is nice to not have to switch apps. It really is. And honestly, for a long time, like my ESPN app on like the TV wouldn't pick up ESPN Plus. And then like when it came onto Hulu, like only certain versions of the Hulu app would show it. So like the one on the TV would show the ESPN Plus, but the one on my Xfinity box wouldn't. So, but they actually got it sorted. So now it's just everything straight ESPN. I don't have to worry about it. Or I can just, like you said, get into Hulu and go in through there. But yeah, Champions League, Liverpool advances, Bayern advances. Let's see who else we talked about. Man City's going on, Real Madrid. Apparently PSG is like dumpster fire now because of their loss. Atletico Madrid advances, Benfica advances, and tomorrow we'll see whether or not Chelsea or Lille advance, or Juventus or Villarreal. So
is PSG the Brooklyn Nets? Is that the comp there?
I don't know.
You have 2 stars, a la Kyrie and Durant. You bring in this 3rd star that is supposed to, I guess, who would be the Kyrie in this situation? Neymar? Probably Neymar, huh?
Yeah,
I think it fits pretty closely there. And who knows? Maybe Messi will get transferred somewhere, and then all of a sudden PSG will be good again. But until then, I'm with Aaron in the chat. PSG's loss was so sweet to watch. And there's a PSG side that was playing Real Madrid, who, if Real Madrid is playing anybody else, they're the hated ones. They're the team that's like, oh, it's the Lakers. Oh, it's the Yankees.
And this is not the same Real Madrid we've seen in the past several years.
No, I mean, it's still a good team. Yeah. It's just not. I mean, if you have Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi, I don't know how you're not playing better than what PSG is. So
no, I completely agree. Yeah, it's funny. Like Real Madrid, this is not the same Real Madrid. They're not as good. They're still sitting first, 10 points clear. But like, they have. No. I mean, they really haven't been the same. But yeah, it's trying to follow La Liga and Liga and Bundesliga and Premier. Man, there's so much soccer to watch. And we didn't get to talk about it, but we actually saw some live cricket while we were out at the
that was fun.
The preseason match tonight.
It was like a cricket pickup game. Just out of nowhere over there at Mesa del Sol. It was pretty cool.
I was half tempted to run a Rask if we could play, but
I really wanted to just take a bat and just take some
yes,
swings. That's all I wanted to
that
try
would
to
have been
do.
a lot of fun.
And then I would have looked foolish and walked away with my head down. But
yeah, it would have been a lot of fun to see. We'll have to try that out sometime. But yeah, moving right along. Ladies and gentlemen, USL Championship Week 1 is in the books. We mentioned at the top of the show, it's been a fantastic opening weekend. Some interesting stats came out. Some great articles over on USLChampionship.com. Go check them out. One of the biggest stats I took away from opening weekend was that home teams went 11-1-1. The only loss by a home team was Memphis, losing the Pittsburgh Riverhounds by a final of 3-0. So home field advantage seems to be back in a big way, at least through 1 week. I know it's hard to pull data from such a small data set, but
I will say that as far as the Eastern Conference matchups, it was kind of stacked with being the clearly better side was at home.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it was definitely an interesting stat there. Which 3 teams have the longest active regular season home winning streak or home unbeaten streak?
3 longest active home unbeaten streaks
in the regular season.
Gosh, I would guess without looking at anything, I would say Lou City.
No.
Huh. Okay.
Regular season.
Yeah,
that's key because 2 of them lost in the playoffs last year at home.
Yeah, El Paso. So it's not El Paso because they lost. It is
El Paso. No, it is El Paso.
Oh yeah, regular.
Because they lost in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Phoenix is so it's El Paso and then Phoenix, or Phoenix and El Paso. I don't remember. And then who's 3?
If I had to guess, Birmingham. Really?
Us. When was our last home loss?
I'd have to look.
Loudon was our last home loss.
Wow.
Shocking, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking. And I had to double check. Because I heard it. I don't remember where I heard it. No, it's us, Aaron. We have the 3rd longest active regular season winning streak. I think it's at 15 now. We had a lot of draws that felt like losses.
Yeah.
After Loudon, but Loudon was our last home loss.
I wouldn't have thought that.
I never would have either. I had to look it up twice. I was like, are you sure? And I went to the schedule and looked, and it was a bunch of draws. I mean, there was a lot of draws in there, but several wins as well, and no losses since Loudon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I wanted to text you yesterday so bad because that's when I found out, but I was like, no, I'm going to save it for the pod. And I was really hoping that you didn't know because then I was going to feel dumb. But the fact that you're as awestruck as I was, I feel better now because that is crazy to me.
I wouldn't have even thought because of just how our form was last year.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have figured that.
But it was our road form that was really bad.
Yeah, it was.
The RGV match there at the end was on the road. There was another one there towards the end that was on the road. I mean, but yeah, I looked and it's a bunch of draws and some wins, but no losses since Loudon.
All right. Well, maybe that's promising.
Yeah.
That's promising to know. So, obviously that bodes well. I mean, the lab has always been a place where we've done better than on the road. So that's a good stat to know. But yeah, like looking around, like we did a couple of predictions last week. I was trying to remember. I honestly didn't write them down. I know that Jerry was very wrong on his predictions as far as El Paso goes.
A little bit.
We also, let's see, we predicted Phoenix and Monterey Bay. I think we all picked Phoenix in that one.
Yeah, that was pretty easy.
I still need to go back and watch that match because I want to see what exactly happened because it seemed like Phoenix just like switched off in the second half.
That's exactly what happened.
So I want to see that. San Antonio, Detroit. I think we all picked Detroit in that one. I'm sorry, I'll pick San Antonio in that one.
I might have picked Detroit, honestly.
You might have. We have to look at. So San Antonio beat Detroit City in their
Well,
USL debut.
Make sure to write them down this week.
Yes, it will. San Antonio beat Detroit City FC by final 1-0. I think we also looked at.
I know Colorado Springs was one of them.
Colorado and Orange County.
I think we might have all picked Colorado Springs.
It's entirely possible. I think that Colorado Springs did beat Orange County by a final of 2-1.
Coach Steve.
Hey, Steve, how you doing? Appreciate you being here. So it's a fantastic weekend of action across the USL, and the runners had a fantastic win over the weekend as well, getting a big time win up in Colorado. Yeah. So congratulations to the runners and Coach Steve for picking that. With one match remaining in the runner season this coming Saturday night up at the Rio Grande Event Center. Get out there, 5:05 p.m. kickoff to check out the runners and Coach Steve. And if you haven't been out there, like seriously, go. It's fun to watch. You can hang out after the match, talk to the players, talk to Coach Steve. And it's such a fun atmosphere to go out and be around. Andres and everyone up there, they put on a fantastic program every Saturday night up at the event center. So get out there and check them out. But yeah, back to the USL.
Aaron in the chat said Springs came out hot, which they did. They looked good, and Haji Berry didn't even contribute hardly at all in that. Yeah. And he almost was playing a 10. In fact, I think he was playing as their 10. And contributed that way, and they were able to get 3 goals there and win 3-1. And that doesn't surprise me, anyways.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be a tough team this year.
Yeah, so there's 3 matches I want to watch still from the week 1 slate. I do still want to watch Phoenix and Monterey just to see what happened there in the second half. Harry in the chat, yes, sir. This is where the winners hang out. Jerry is not here with us this evening, so we're having a good time.
He's not here yet.
He's not here yet.
Harry, I've missed you. I've seen you on Twitter and stuff, but you haven't been in the chat for a couple of weeks, man. I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, we missed you a couple of weeks ago, especially because there's something we were going to want to talk to you about, get your take on, but
I don't remember what it was now.
Yeah, at this point, it's been a couple of weeks, so. But yeah,
I thought you were mad at us for a little while there, Harry. I was nervous. Thought we finally slandered San Antonio too much.
But yeah, Coach Steve, we do appreciate you guys, and we love supporting the runners. All the local clubs here, and at least one of us is. Earl's planning on being out there on Saturday, so at least one of us should be out there Saturday evening to be there with you guys. Yeah, so yeah, I've got Phoenix Rising I want to watch. I want to watch the San Antonio match, and then I do want to watch that Colorado Springs match just to kind of get an idea of what to look at. Jacob, you and I were talking here before the show about El Paso. I'm going to finish watching that here in a little bit. But looking at the way week 1 went, particularly for New Mexico United, we of course all predicted wins for United. Where is the average Earl? Earl had to work. He was out in Carlsbad today and didn't leave work until a little over an hour ago. So he was going to be getting back rather late tonight. So that's where Earl is at. He should be back on the show next weekend. So Jacob, I think you had 4-0.
No, I had 5.
You had 5-0. Okay.
Because I had 4, and then Earl showed me that he had 4 written down. So I said, well, I'm not going to go lower than 4. That's crazy. So I went 5.
So yeah, you went 5. Earl went 4. I believe Jerry went 4 in the chat as well. So one of us did pick a 2-0 scoreline.
I could have swore yours was 2-1.
You think so? I think I went 2-0.
I could have swore it was 2-1.
We'll have to double check that. I'm pretty sure I said 2-0. But one of us did have there. I know I had 2-0 over on Reddit and the Reddit prediction threads.
Oh, so that's what you just made 3 different predictions so that you'd be right on one of them.
No. I did not make 3 different predictions. I'm pretty sure I had 2-0 on both. We'll double check that. But we weren't entirely sure what to make of Las Vegas coming into this. There wasn't exactly a set roster that we could find on Wikipedia or anywhere. And you went through looking at the transactions over on the USL Championship website. Now, I did put out a tweet after seeing their lineup for the day, saying that Cal Jennings was someone to keep an eye on. And sure enough, he was. Cal Jennings showed up. He played pretty well throughout the match. Las Vegas actually controlled possession for much of it. And while they controlled possession, they didn't necessarily put a whole lot of threat on the goal. We saw a total of 2 shots on target, both of which were fairly easily handled by Alex Tambakis. And he had a clean sheet, obviously a great way to start the season. We were texting, and you and I were kind of chatting for a little bit yesterday. You felt like some of my first half observations were a little bit negative. I felt like our 3 at the back was playing a little bit too wide, allowing Las Vegas to get into some space. Now, you and Earl were at the match. You had a different vantage point than I did watching at home. Did you have a chance to go back and watch that and kind of see if we had similar?
I did.
Okay.
So Harry had 4-1 us over Vegas, and it should have been 4-0 or 4-1, and so I watched it. It's hard when we're at the match, me and Earl specifically. I know when you're there, you usually sit up in the press box like a professional or some shit. But when we're there, we like to be close, and one is I am our de facto photographer. So if we want pictures of the game, I kind of have to be down there because I don't have fancy technology that. Yeah, okay. I don't have fancy technology that'll allow me to take good pictures from up in the press box, but when you're down there, it's really hard to judge certain things. And specifically for me and Earl, we typically hang out at whatever side we are attacking. So in the first half, we stayed in the dugout on our side so that we could see our goal better. And in the second half, we switched and went to the outfield so that we could see the attacking goal over there. And so when you're on that far side, the attacks for the opposing team are really hard to gauge how they're forming in most scenarios. So going back and rewatching, I felt like you no, Harry, I'm not saying that I hate the defense. It's that the pictures that people like are typically of the goal scorers celebrating. And in order to get those pictures, you have to be on the offensive side of the pitch. Unless Nico Brett scores and runs away from you, then that kind of was a rough one. Had I been over in the dugout like we were in the first half, I probably could have got a cool picture of him holding up the Moreno jersey. But I could see where you were coming from. I still thought we dominate is too strong of a word, but I still feel like we controlled that match, even if we didn't control possession, especially in the second half. But even in the first half, I still thought that even after rewatching it. I think that it could be better. That defense could be a little more cohesive back there. Okay. Oh my gosh. Really?
Yes,
okay.
Really.
Okay. Anyway, but Zach mentions that in the press conference. He said that definitely needed to tighten some things up, and we could be better in a lot of ways. And they did make some second half adjustments that helped kind of squash some of the Las Vegas chances. But I still feel really good about the match. I feel like there was room to grow, obviously, because like Zach said in the press conference, if we don't feel like there's room to grow after the first match, then we're lying to ourselves. So the fact that there's clearly some room to grow there, and we still were able to walk away with a pretty easy 2-0 win, in my opinion. Real quick, me and Earl and a buddy of ours that works for the team that I'm going to leave nameless, we're talking about how there was a difference in the second half between our second halves last year when we had the lead. Did you pick up on that, on differences there between Zach and Troy, and how they attacked or how they handled having the lead in the second half?
Yeah, that was something that we've talked about a lot. We talked about it a lot last season. We talked about it leading into the season, and that's something that's come up a couple times in the pressers with Zach, talking about his mentality and how he wanted to approach having a lead late in the game. And looking at it Sunday evening, there was a definite change in mentality. You could see us still going forward. We weren't just passing the ball around. We weren't, slowly trying to make our way into it, or slowly hold possession and just kind of grind it down until like the last, like 2 minutes. You can see Brucey like doing some doing some stuff over in the corner. But
my favorite part of that was Bruce had some fancy footwork, but at one point Nico had possession over there, and he just shoved the Vegas dude to the ground.
Yeah,
and was just like, "Get off me, son."
Yeah. But it was good to see. It really was, especially with the formation that Zach had out there. I felt like we looked more confident on the ball, off the ball, particularly in the last 15 minutes of the match, because that's an area where we've really struggled in the past. And I felt like we were still taking opportunities, trying to look for ways to get forward. And we saw that, especially around, I think it was like the 83rd, 84th minute. You see some attacks still going, and it's not just, like I said, not just that slow build up. That's
so
it looked better.
They were dangerous through balls.
Yeah.
That were dangerous in two ways. They were dangerous because they were dangerous for us because we could have gotten through on goal and could have been led to a dangerous chance. But then they were dangerous against us as well because we gave up possession. And on both of them, towards that 80th, 85th minute, we gave up possession. It didn't end up working out in our favor. At least one of them. I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. And that is something that we never would have saw last year. And then me and Earl and unsaid or unnamed person it was the 90th minute, 89th, 90th minute. And Nico and Rivas were at the 18 pressing. And we all three looked at each other and said, well, that's different. Because had that been last year, at about the 70th, 75th minute, one of our attacking players would have come off for a defensive mid or a backline player. We would have switched to a 4-4-2 or something like that. And we'd have parked the bus. And then we would have given up a goal, and our buttholes would get tight, and we possibly would have given up another goal. And so to see them, and credit to Zach, obviously, for having that mentality, but the players themselves for having the confidence to go out and still make those dangerous passes and still get up and press and still, try to score a third while also playing good defense and not allowing them to even get a chance that late, and executing the mentality that Zach said, he said this since day one. He said that was going to be a change since his first press conference, was that they were going to address how they kept giving up late goals, and they were going to change it by attacking more. And that is exactly what they did. And I am absolutely thrilled to see that. And hopefully last year, you look at the El Paso matchups, and aside from one, I feel like we were clearly the better team, but we didn't come away with any result. Well, we came away with draws, but I'm hoping that this kind of mentality translates into us taking care of El Paso next week, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I'm really excited about what we saw, specifically in the second half, up 2 goals already, and still attacking and having that mindset of, no, that's not good enough. Let's get a third.
Yeah, it was definitely an improvement over what we saw last year in terms of, like you mentioned, Zach wanting that attacking mentality, wanting to keep going forward no matter what time it is in the match. And I know folks gave Troy a lot of flack last season for supposedly parking the bus. And while I at times didn't necessarily classify it as parking the bus, it was definitely a more possession-based end of the match, trying to just close it out, or even just hold that tie, or whatever the case may be. But like you mentioned, you saw us going forward, but we also didn't give up opportunities on our own end.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun to see Coach Steve here in the chat. Unfortunately, wasn't at the game. I love an attack-minded team. This is modern soccer. Looking forward to seeing it live. Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that Zach has talked about every time that we've talked about. He wants them looking for those opportunities. We've talked to him a little bit about some of the terminology that they use, and you could see it working in the pitch. You could see the guys, wanting to go forward. And you talk about not bringing on defensive sub. Well, we didn't really have anybody to bring on in a defensive position too.
That's true. We had a zero though. I'm
Yeah.
surprised we didn't see a zero.
Yeah. I mean, when you have when your bench has no defenders on it, like you can't really, I mean, you probably could have brought Mike in and dropped him in there, but it's
and I'm mad at myself because, I feel like there's three people on this podcast, right? There's Seth, the buttoned up sports journalist, and then there's Earl, the batshit crazy fan that doesn't give a damn about professionalism, and then I try to toe the line between the two of you. And the journalist side of me is mad because I didn't notice the lack of defensive players on the 18, and I should have noticed, and I should have asked. Because we saw Seymour play what it was Swahi's position Saturday night. We saw Seymour play there in person. He looked great. We both thought. We saw the El Paso preseason match. He played that same position. He looked really good. And he wasn't even in the 18. And I have to wonder if that's an injury or some kind of precaution, because to go into that match without another center back as an option, we know Ratty is still working his way into form. But for Sheed and Seymour to both be out of the 18, very confusing to me. And had I known that going into the press conference, like a freaking journalist should have, I definitely would have asked that, and I'm mad at myself for not doing that. But what were your thoughts on that? Because when I rewatched it, well, first I realized it before that, but when I rewatched it, I saw, okay, well, then that's really weird. Like, did you? I know that when the injury happened, Tyler, I love you. You did fantastic as always. He mentioned them not having any other center backs on the 18. Did you know that before he mentioned it? And what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw it when the team sheet came out, and I looked at it. I said, well, that's a little unusual. Now, we do still have some versatility in the squad. Obviously, Sam has played that center back role in the past. He's done well at it. You had Josh Suggs out there who could, of course, drop back and play in a defensive spot as well if needed. But yeah, the injury to Austin, and we're not medical experts. We believe it's a hamstring injury. We don't have any confirmation on exactly what the severity of it is. We do know that Austin was on crutches after the match. So hopefully it's nothing too serious. But as we all know, being sports fans, hamstring injuries are not the easiest thing to rehab because
it's a month. If he comes back before a month, I will be pleasantly surprised, but it's probably at least a month.
But yeah, Rosh not being in the 18, Ratty, obviously we know his reasons why. But you and I were out at the preseason and we saw Rosh, killing it in the practices that we saw. We saw Alexi playing really well. We saw
Alexi was a stud Saturday, by the way.
Yeah, he was. And so it was definitely an interesting decision by Zach to only go with basically 3 defensive players in the team sheet. Again, we did still have versatility of guys. We have Mike in the 18, obviously, who could probably drop back as. I wouldn't put him as a center back or anything. I obviously play a defensive mid, dropping a lot deeper than the other guys. Was definitely interesting to see. It was interesting to see guys to get opportunities like Christian being in the 18. stuff like that, which is great to see. But you definitely don't count on an injury happening. But yeah,
You have
I
to
didn't know what to think. Honestly,
you
like I was like, it's an aggressive move.
maybe sickness. That's not a that could be. I saw Sheed walking around on the concourse. I didn't see Seymour at all, so maybe he was down with a knock or an illness. But you have to me, you have to prepare, or you have to. There's the Jack Reacher novels by Lee Child, also known as you saw. There's a movie and a TV show, but in the books, one of Jack Reacher's mantras is prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So I can see hoping that no injuries happen and carrying 3 on the back and just those 3 basically. But not having at least one other center back on the bench in case something like that happens, very tough, in my opinion, to do that without having a reason of sickness or an injury or something like that. So I'm curious to see what we look like going into the El Paso match. If it's Seymour, if it's Sheed, if it's a 4-4-2 or something like that. So I'm curious to see what happens there. But Ryden and Alexi were 2 bright spots for me. I mean, Ryden got selected to the USL Team of the Week bench, and then Alexi shut down that side of. In fact, I think every single attack that scared me came on the opposite side of Alexi, either against Yearwood before he got hurt or against Suggs after they had to move around pieces, and that just speaks to why we brought Alexi in. I think he comes over from Lou City after starting pretty much every match for 2 or 3 years, and just is a solid brick wall back there. I mean, he's not going to be spectacular. He's not going to score a bunch of goals and be a flashy signing like Nico Brett, but he's probably just as important, if not more important, than most of the signings that we had.
Alexi nearly had a banger there.
Oh, so close, dude. So close. We were right there, and when he struck it, I think mine and Earl's jaws both dropped. Yeah. And then when he got tipped over the bar, we were both hung our head. But man, that was a strike and a half right there.
I think he did have 5 goals last season for City. So
he's going to score goals. I'm sure he'll still find a couple here and there, but he's not going to make like the high pressing Nico plays or like the chip, the little flick that Nico had to spring to Tabor in the first half when Ataka just put it wide. I mean, it was so close to being a beautiful play. Like those are the ones that are going to get clipped and shared on social media. Him stonewalling a guy before a threat even starts isn't going to get the recognition that it deserves.
Right.
And that's the way it is with every defender ever. But Aaron over here, absolute banger. I was shouting at the guy next to me that he doesn't need to be that far up. I was right there with you. At this point, we had a 2-0 lead, and he bombed up for no real reason other than the ball was kind of loose and like in no man's land, and he came up and he ended up winning it, and then he just kept going, and then put that shot on, and I mean, how have we come this far without actually talking about the goals?
Because it's opening day. There's a lot to talk about.
There is,
and we'll definitely get to those goals here in just a second. I do want to bring out one more point before we talk about those. And this was probably my biggest negative on the night, and that was Josh Suggs. You and I kind of chatted about it a little bit, and you just brought him up here. We talked about how Austin obviously went out with an injury, and then when Zach made the change to bring on Daniel Bruce, you then have Harry Schwartz on one side, Daniel Bruce on the other, and Suggs slid back into that left center back role. And Josh did not have a great night. He had some rough moments, and we were kind of talking about it a little bit. And how much of that do you think is because of that change in position because he hasn't necessarily played in that left center back role as much as he used to in recent memory? Or do you think that he just had an off night? Like, because we saw, one of the times that I brought up, he's around the 41st, 42nd minute. Josh is running down after the ball. There's a lights player running stride for stride with him, and Josh just kind of like gives up on it. And then he was like, oh shit, what did I do? And like went after again. He had a couple off passes. So what do you think it was about Josh and on the night?
I don't know. I think it was a combination of the two. Zach talked about it in the press conference where he said that Suggs kind of left him in bad spots a couple times early after making that switch because he wasn't decisive. Which I think one of those points one of those cases was the point that you're talking about with him just kind of giving up on a ball and then some passes that I think he could have made or should have made that he ended up not, and just things like that. But Suggs has been in this league for a long time. Obviously, he leads the whole league in minutes played in its entirety in the whole USL existence. He is number one in minutes played, and to put it as mildly as I can, those minutes showed. Like he just made some mistakes. He didn't seem to have the legs. I mean, I think that, when you're looking at Austin and from what we've seen as Swahi and what we know of Ryden, I think they're all faster than Suggs. And so we're playing a pretty high line and trying to get back. I think Suggs kind of struggled with that a little bit, but he made some mistakes. He wasn't. What was that face for?
I'm scrolling through the roster, and I'll tell you in just a minute.
Okay. He had some rough times. I thought he held his own most of the night. I mean, he didn't end up giving up a goal or anything. He is 36. No,
32.
No. 32.
He's only 32.
Yeah. I'm 32. I know it's not only 32. Oh, yeah, you're 36.
I'm 37.
Oh, 37.
I'm 37.
I apologize. He wasn't the only negative spot for me, though. And I like this. Go negative first so that we can get it out of the way. Portillo didn't... I will say that what I liked about Portillo was that unlike an unnamed person from last year, if Portillo got the ball and knew he had space to attack, he would turn and attack. It wasn't like he had his back to our goal and was allergic to it. Like last year, there were a couple that seemed to be. And I think that even though he did that, he still just made a few mistakes that I just really kind of stuck out to me and were Juan Pablo Guzman when he turned the ball over a couple times. But other than that, I thought he played a decent game. It's just I thought he could have been better. And then where was Wehan?
Yeah, he wasn't really involved a whole lot.
Like he wasn't a negative. Like he didn't have a bad game. He just was invisible a lot of the time, which for my standards of Chris Wehan is a bad game. But those three players were the only players that I had graded average or below. I thought everybody else played really well, and I think Suggs and Portillo and I know Wehan are all going to have better days, and they're going to get better as the season goes along. So I'm not worried about any of them. And if those three are what we looked at as negatives from week one, then we had a damn good week one, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, we absolutely did. And while we do have these minor negatives, obviously, Beats is going to get more involved. Portillo is going to show up a little bit more. Suggs is obviously going to correct whatever issues he had. He's a veteran. These guys are veteran players. They know what they have to do in order to get involved. There were obviously some really big moments that came out of the match. And Harry, we're going to get to your news here in just a little bit. You had a prediction earlier as well. We'll to those. Because the USL has some big news that came out today as well. talk about the goals. Let's talk about those. Obviously a 2-0 win, and we saw 2 goals from 2 set pieces, which is not something that we've done well in the past. We did see a few gadget plays last year that worked well, but it certainly seems like Zach is back at the drawing board, drawing stuff up, and first goal of the match, obviously a cross in from Justin Portillo, went across the box
Off a corner.
Off a corner, yeah. Wide open Harry Schwartz at the far post. Got a great header on it. Put it down out of the keeper's reach. Took one bounce in the back of the net, and then same thing similar for the second one. Went across another corner, came across the box, and Nico got to it, and obviously had the celebration honoring Amando Moreno there after his goal. But what's your takeaway from these 2 goals? Do you think these are something that Zach kind of drew up? Because you look at how we lined up, particularly on the first one, and Harry was nowhere near the goal when he lined up for that corner.
Well, we've seen that play multiple times, and I believe we have scored off of it at least. Well, not at least. I believe we've scored off of it one other time. I have to do a little bit of research, but it's a play that Schmidt used to do this a lot. He used to start, in a defensive position, kind of hanging out back closer to midfield. And then when Portillo put the arm down, he'd come bombing up that far side. And it's a fairly good play. I mean, when you don't do it a lot and the other team isn't expecting it, you get what happened on Saturday, which is Harry gets a free header with literally nobody within 5 yards of him, and is able to put it down and find the bottom corner of the bottom far post, and it maybe it should have been cleared. There was a couple Vegas players that swung and missed on it, or it very easily could have been an own goal. Well, he put it on frame, so it wouldn't have been an old goal, but they could have very easily tapped it in themselves, and one of them might have. It was close. It's set plays like that. Like, if we can, last year we started off really hot on set pieces. We had a lot of goals from set pieces the first third of the last season, and then it kind of waned down. So hopefully this is something that can sustain. I voiced a little bit of displeasure with not being able to score in open play, but these 2 set pieces. The second one we've seen similar. In fact, it was Rivas scored on a similar play last year. Ball on what would that be? The right side, the offensive right side of the pitch, and Suggs put in a cross that went to the far post, and Ryden was able to get a head on it and direct it back across frame, and Nico was able to get his head to the Ryden ball and head it down and past the keeper, and it's plays like that both of those set pieces that kind of give us hope that maybe the set piece. We also have a lot more height this year. With Nico out there, we lose height at the 9, but Swahi, Sam, Ryden, Sainty, if he's in there, Yearwood when he comes back. I mean, we've got several players that are a little bit bigger than in the past, and hopefully that can lead to some set piece magic. And if we can keep that set piece magic going, and Tabor finishes his one that he put past the post, if we get a banger from Brucey or Nico or something like that, you get some open play chances to go in, then we can. That's when we can see 3, 4, 5 goals in a night, and they are exciting.
Who's your man of the match?
Swahi? I don't know. I know Harry got the official man of the match from United, and it was deserved. But I think what Swahi did on that that left side or right side, and just shutting that side down, not letting anything happen over there, while playing. That 3-back system. You're on an island, man. You are screwed if you give up a one-on-one defeat there and let somebody past you. And he made some gambles, going for some passes there towards midfield and was able to win those. I mean, he's quick, he's big. He just shut everything down on that side. I think you could go 3 or 4 different ways here, but I'm going to go with Swahi.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I mean, looking at his stats on the night and just watching him play, he played really well. He absolutely did. And that's to be expected of someone of his caliber. A veteran player. Over in Hamilton, Sam played well. Sam has really done well in that midfield role since he's been out there. And seeing guys like Harry come back and Sam come back from the injuries they had last season, and it's great to see him out there. Coach Steve, thanks for hanging out with us, man. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, you really could go a number of different ways with it. But yeah, Alexi is probably my man of the match as well. I enjoy watching him play. I can't wait to see what happens with him in the coming weeks and months once the season really gets underway and the club really starts to click. So yeah, I mean, looking ahead to next weekend, we got the Rio Grande Derby, El Paso, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what it's
Camino de Real.
Yeah, whatever.
Camino de Real. I don't know.
I just, little brother down south of here. Yeah, FEP. There you go. The FEP Bowl. How about that? El Paso, of course, coming off of a 3-1 loss to Sacramento, a match in which they actually played really well. And I hate to give credit to El Paso. We don't like to talk them up a little bit, but they did. They looked good. Early penalty that they couldn't convert. They had some other opportunities throughout the match, and they didn't do it. And they seemed to control much of the game. But Sacramento pulled out a 3-goal showing out of there and took that match at home. Obviously, this match on Saturday, of course, is down in El Paso, where we know that El Paso does still have a regular season unbeaten streak going. So yeah, looking at this and looking at what we saw this past weekend, where do you think that the problem matchups are for New Mexico United?
The way they're playing this year is a lot different than with Lowry. They're definitely more attack minded. Francois, what's the other guy's name that plays their other wing? Sonape, whatever it is. They looked really dangerous. And if it's Swahi, Ryden, and Seymour, or even Sheed, I'm not as nervous about it. I don't think we'll see Suggs back there again, as long as everybody else is healthy and can go. But I am curious to see how that back three line up with their front three. And typically I like our chances there, but if there's any spot that I'm really worried, I think it's going to be there. I think our offense is going to do okay against their defense. I hope Yuma's playing because at this point Yuma is one of their worst defenders, and so I hope he gets in there and we can tear him apart. But we'll see. Other than that, I think the midfield probably pretty even. It's going to be an interesting game though. We always play tough, close games with them, no matter what, seemingly, aside from the one time that we kicked their ass here in Albuquerque in 2019. So we'll see how it goes. But their front three do make me a little nervous.
Honestly, outside of Soloniak, I'm not too worried about their front three. Now, we've seen Yuma play all different positions on the pitch. He's played in forward, he's played midfield, he plays defensively. Like he's just all over the pitch. And so, Soloniak is one of the guys that I worry about looking at that because he does have the ability to score. And then watching what they did on Saturday, Dylan Mares had a pretty good night. Diego Luna had a pretty good night. They did have some guys go out with injury during the Sacramento match. But so looking at, for me, it's out of the midfield. That's where the issues are for me with El Paso. Because they've got some guys, I already mentioned them that have the ability to get forward and get into dangerous positions and just disrupt the midfield play going either way. And so that for me is going to be one of the big keys to the match on Saturday night is who can control that midfield? Can we take Yuma out of it? Can we keep the emotions in check and deal with that?
No.
Probably not. I mean, we've already seen tempers flare up in the preseason, but they look vastly different from that last preseason match to how they looked this weekend against Sacramento. So, and then as far as who's going to be in goal, I don't know. Evan Newton obviously is their number one. Philip Beigel didn't even make the team sheet on Saturday.
Can we talk about Newton real quick?
Yeah.
What a shit show that was. That was, he was all over the place. I have no idea what he was thinking. The penalty that he gave to Sacramento, for him to pop up and act like, what did I do? You tracked him down and tackled him. Like, that's point blank what it was. I don't know what, it wasn't even that dangerous of a ball. It was going out of play. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, Newton's decision making there obviously left a lot to be desired. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but I mean, they're obviously a dangerous club. They always have been. Like you mentioned, this is one of those matchups that always seems to be right down to the wire or extremely close, no matter where it's at. So,
and just for the record, Philip didn't make the team sheet because he had a baby.
Oh, did he?
Yes. Well, his wife had a baby, obviously,
okay.
but yeah, they welcomed a baby.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, congrats to Philip Beigel on the new addition to his family. So, yeah, I look at it and I look at El Paso, and I don't know. I really, there's still a lot of questions there for me as to what they're going to do because I want to see more out of their forwards. I want to see what they can do. And if they can get that system going. So as far as what we need to do, what are your keys for United on Saturday?
I think the midfield has to be a little crisper with their passes. We can't be turning the ball over against this team. This is not a Las Vegas Lights team. Not to take away anything from Danny Trejo or Cal Jennings. They are very good soccer players in their own right, obviously, but El Paso teams they're very technical and they know how to attack and they know how to score, especially off of turnovers. So we got to limit those turnovers. Other than that, sound like a broken record from last year. We got to finish. We had some chances in open play against Vegas and we couldn't quite put it away. We got to put some balls in the back of the net and make El Paso pay for any mistakes that they make. I don't think we're going to be able to get a clean sheet, but I think there's goals aplenty to be had if we can finish for both teams.
All right. Well, I mean, let's just get right into it. What is your prediction for Saturday night?
I feel like we are the better team. It's hard when you're looking at how we played against Vegas compared to how they play against Sacramento. I feel like
two vastly different caliber of clubs.
Very much so. So I feel like that we are the better team. With that being said, in El Paso, it's a tough match. I mean, I can't remember if it's them or Phoenix that has the record for most regular season or for the longest regular season undefeated streak, but it's one of them. And it's that way for a reason. They are very good at home. They're just a very good club, and because of that, I'm taking 2-1 us.
Okay. All right, Jacob got 2 on us. Harry over in the chat saying 2-2, and then Aaron 3-2. I don't know that I've seen enough out of either of the clubs. This is the third time that we've seen New Mexico United live.
Well, yeah, that's what everybody did. Harry just picked every game, for Christ's sakes, on YouTube. You can't cop out. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen enough of them. Nobody's seen enough of anybody right now.
Well, I'm just saying I haven't seen enough. I want to see more from both of these clubs.
Sounds like you're making excuses
to see where they're at and what the potential is. Now, we've seen El Paso a couple times. You saw them live a couple weeks ago against New Mexico United, and what was pretty close to an opening day roster. And so El Paso, obviously, they're a super aggressive club. They're gonna put goals in the back of their net. They're gonna be very dangerous throughout the season. Southwest University Park plays to their favor. I don't know. And I know I picked against us last season in this. I do feel like we're a little better defensively than they are. I think we have a better goalkeeper than they do.
I know that.
Yeah. I think we go down there. I think we do take 3 points. Now, I don't think it's going to be like 3-1. I don't think we're going to see more than like 3 goals in the match.
So hark back to a conversation that we had earlier today about a different sport. Again, it sounded like you just talked yourself into one thing and then flip-flopped on it just like that.
I'm not flip-flopping on anything. I
don't like New Mexico United's chances. They're a good team down there. They're going to win. We're going to get 3 points.
Well, no, I didn't say that El Paso was going to get points at any point. I'm just, trying to analyze what I've seen so far and what I think could happen. And so I do think we get the 3 points. It's a definitely tough place to play. I think we go down. I think it's going to be 2-1 for us.
You just took my score. So, Aaron, are you saying 3-0 or are you saying 3-2? Because if you're saying 3-0, I'm saying 3-2. Because that's what I wanted to pick. But then you had already put it in the chat. And I don't want to be like, oh, the guy that copies the commenter. Because I think 3-2 is more likely than 2-1. But I think we win. And I didn't want to go 2-2 because Harry said 2-2. Even though everybody knows it's going to be 2-2. I mean, then
more than likely,
that's the El Paso scoreline. Okay, he's staying 3-2. Okay. Then I'm going to go 3-1. Fuck it. Okay. I don't want to go. Right. You can have 2-1. I'll go 3-1. However, if it ends up being 2-1, I'm claiming that shit till the cows.
Okay, that's fine with me. But don't be afraid to use the same scoreline as someone else. Like, it's not going to hurt you.
Well, you already have a correct scoreline predicted. I can't let you get. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going to go back to 2-1 because I can't let you get it right and maybe down 2-0.
All right, we'll get Earl's prediction here at some point this week. We'll make sure we get all those out on social media. We'll keep track of them. Jacob has 3 different guesses this week.
No, I will go 2-1. That is, okay. I think that's what it's going to be.
All right, Harry's got 2-2. Aaron's got 3-2. I've got 2-1. All right.
Adri says 2-1 as well.
Hey, Adri, there we go. Hey, how are you tonight? Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. 2-1 United for Adri there. Yes. All right. So yeah, I mean that's we got our recap. We got our preview in there. There is some news a little bit that came, just a little bit. I want to touch on one thing here real quick from Harry. Big news out of Orange County today. I did see this earlier. Ronaldo Damas is heading to Europe, over to the Swedish league over there. Apparently, according to ESPN, it's a 6-figure deal plus sell-on clause for this.
It is also the same team that Forrest Lasso left Tampa Bay Rowdies to go to.
Yes, and apparently they're also trying to get Joe Corona over there as well. So big moves being made by that Swedish club. I mean, this will be a huge move for him. Ronaldo Damas, obviously a young talent. He's done very well the past couple seasons in USL League One and now in USL Championship for Orange County. It would be a huge loss for them. But for the league as a whole, I think it's a great move to see even more talent going over to a top tier league in Europe.
Yeah, I mean it's huge for the league. My understanding is he isn't able to play for Orange County right now, anyways, because of some visa issues. So he, it's a loss for Orange County in the sense that he can't come back for like a stretch run or the playoffs again. But other than that, I mean, it's a huge move. It's good for Orange County if they're getting that kind of money. It's something that I hope we can do eventually with some young players for us. We've talked about Nava obviously being from the academy. We'll see what he gets if he gets an offer from somewhere else or some looks. I think the coaching staff is really high on Carl Fred Sainty, and I can kind of see why. So it's something that we can aspire to and hope that we can hit on somebody that maybe not 500K, but somebody that can bring us in a little chunk of change so that we can put that back into the roster and try to retool. But yeah, huge news that Damas was fantastic in the playoffs last year, specifically. He basically won me $300 when I was in Vegas I bet on the championship match. So he'll always have a special little place in my wallet. I mean, heart. And hopefully this is just more and more stuff like this keeps happening for the league.
Well, that's a great place for someone that's not from our club to be, in your wallet. So
yeah,
and then the other big news that came out today, and I definitely want to get everyone's opinion. If you're in the chat, I definitely want to get your feedback on this, your thoughts on it. Today, the USL Super League announced their calendar for the season. They are going to go with basically the European calendar. They're going to play fall to summer with a midwinter break in here. And going from the article over on USLsoccer.com, according to USL CEO Alex Papadakis, alignment with the global game demonstrates our commitment to drive increased value for our fans, players, clubs, and partners. This would be, I believe, the only league in the United States to follow the fall to summer schedule. Obviously, we know MLS and USL don't do that. Now, this to me is, I think, a fantastic, is an interesting decision to say the least, because number one, you have to look at it from this comment here. Increased value for our fans, players, clubs, and partners. It goes on to say that the calendar is constructed with players in mind, from playing conditions to career development to mental and physical well-being. Now, how does this value fans? Because could you imagine some of these clubs playing in the winter, especially in some of the locations that have already been announced? I mean, once we get the women's league club here, like, could you imagine us trying to play in like November or January? I can't. I don't think that's a value to the fans, because who's going to come out and watch a match in 20-degree weather?
I don't know, man. I would, for one.
Oh yeah, you and I would. Yes.
Yeah. You have kids, so let me ask you this: if it's 98 and like 20% humidity versus,
now see, I love that weather,
versus 36 and sunny, which one are you more likely to take the kids to?
Neither. I mean, being perfectly honest, like neither, because keeping my kids out in 98-degree weather for an extended period of time, when they're not like at a pool.
Okay, so which one would they rather do?
Probably the summer.
Really? Even though
oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't really care either way. It'll be interesting to see how it works. If they get numbers and enjoy the winter months, which I think could work. I don't know if it's necessarily keeping the fans in mind, but it could work. Um, most of the time here, it's really not. The problem that I have with it is it gets dark so damn early.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kick off at 5:00, it's already pitch black. And I know that there's these thing called lights. I understand that. It just is weird to me. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
You talk about drawing numbers. Now, I'd have to do some research on it to see what the NWSL and other women's leagues pull in terms of attendance numbers. Now, I know there's a few clubs that do probably outdraw, USL clubs, maybe even a couple MLS clubs. But I mean, really, some great comments over in the chat. Jake, Harry saying Jake wants to move to international. Yes, I mean, he's talked about this. This is something that he absolutely wants to do. To test for the men's game. I mean, really, in terms of numbers, what do you think that they have to see in order for them to potentially move this over to the men's league as well? And do you think this is a precursor to the USL actually switching over to that? And when, say, 2026?
I think it could happen depending on how the Super League works, but I'm a huge fan of Aaron right now and green chili stew in the tailgates. I mean, I am down for that all day, every day, except for when it's 98. So I think you're going to have pros and cons. I mean, the majority of our weather isn't that bad. In fact, I'd argue that there are times when March weather is worse than January weather here in Albuquerque anyways. So it is what it is. I think if they like how it turns out, then they will change it for the men's game. And I think that's, at the end of the day, it's fine. I will be bummed because I love the fact that we have United start in March, go till November. English Premier League, Bundesliga, all those start shortly after or before the USL is done. So then you're right into that. And I like being able to go to 7:00 matches. I like to be able to go to like Saturday, dude. The weather was beautiful. It was perfect. So I don't care either way. I just want to watch United. And if once we get a stadium and there's a women's United team, then guess what? I'll be there if it's 36 or 98, whatever the case may be. I'm going to be there. The only problem I have with that though is I have a wife and kids, and if there's another soccer season over the winter where I have to go to Albuquerque every Saturday and for 2 hours every week I zone out while I watch the matches and talk to you guys, I'm not sure how they'd feel about it, but but I'd still be down for it.
Another comment here in chat from Harry. Do you watch 4 hours of football compared to 2 hours for soccer? If the product is good, fans will turn out. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. If it's a good product, the fans will turn out. And I was just doing some research over on soccerstadiumdigest.com. So the NWSL attendance numbers are posted over there. The league as a whole averaged around 5,500 fans per year. Obviously, there's a range there. Portland Thorns averaged a little over 14,000 fans per match. Racing Louisville pulled 6.6. Reign pulled 5.4. Gotham FC pulled 5.1. And the lowest average attendance for that was the Chicago Red Stars, who pulled just under 3.3 thousand fans per match. So not a bad showing at all for the NWSL in terms of attendance. And I think that they're definitely outdrawing some USL clubs, especially when you look at the twos and some of the other clubs, like El Paso, that don't necessarily pull well. But I think it could work. And if it does well, if this experiment with the schedule goes well, I think we could see the USL switch over to the European schedule, basically.
I personally don't think it'll happen. Unless this does extremely well, I just don't see why they would make that change. I don't necessarily see how they would make that change. You'd have to go, what, 6-7 months without soccer if the season ended in November, and then you have to wait till almost almost a year before you actually started back up again.
Well, I think you could slowly shift into it by building breaks into the season and just shifting things around. That way, you're not like cutting. You're not missing out on 4 months of play.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely an interesting announcement that is one to keep an eye on and see what happens there. But until those games are actually played and we see what kind of happens there, then I'm going to reserve judgment and just enjoy the summer soccer months that we have right now.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I agree. Just wait and see what happens. And I mean, obviously, once we get a women's club here, no matter what the schedule ends up being, we're going to be there. We're going to support the club. We'll be out there. If Albuquerque FC comes back, I would love to get out there and support them a little bit. Here we go right here, Harry. The reason why it is easier to transfer players overseas if USL wants to be a selling league, it's all about selling the academy kids. Yeah. I mean, USL, MLS, they're showing that they can develop kids now and move them on. And so absolutely, it makes it a lot easier if everyone's on the same transfer schedule, if you're on the same breaks. It absolutely does make a lot of things easier. But, the more soccer we have, the better, if you ask me. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. So
I agree that it makes the transfers easier. There's a lot of things that could be different if we're all on the same schedule. I think this year, this last 365 days, has kind of proven that it might not matter. You look at the MLS, and we had a record number of transfers to European leagues. We just talked about how we had Damas transfer now. We also had Jose Gallegos. And I'm forgetting who else was actually transferred out. Forrest Lasso left when he was out of contract, but these moves are already being made even with this schedule. So does it have to be where we're all in the same calendar to make these moves? I think we've proven that it doesn't necessarily need to be that way.
Yeah. You make a great point there. I mean, the transfers are still happening even without being on the same schedule. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts here. A lot of things that could happen in the future, and I don't necessarily think that USSF could potentially stop Jake if that's what he ends up doing with the USL. But I definitely don't see MLS ever going to that schedule.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you. I couldn't remember. Junior Flemings obviously went to an Italian side.
That he did. All right. So I think that's going to just about do it for our show. Jacob, do you have any final points you want to hit on?
No. I think we're good. Happy with the 2-0 win. Can't wait for the El Paso match on Saturday. Are you still going to make it down there?
That's the goal. The goal is still to get down there. So.
Okay. Good. So yeah, can't wait for that. Just the USL being back in general is exciting. 4:00 Saturday. No, sorry, 6:00 Saturday. We'll be taking on El Paso. Make sure you tune in on ESPN Plus or get down there.
ESPN Deportes.
It's also on ESPN Plus.
I hope so.
It is. They have said that already. So,
okay.
So you will be able to watch the game if you at all can. I would get down there. I have work and kids and can't make it, but I would be there if I could. I know, right? Adri's going, which is good. So you can see her down there. Adrian, I think you did an awesome job as the Spanish-speaking PA announcer at the game on Saturday, and glad that I get to hear that for 16 more times. We have 34 games this year. Okay, yeah. 16 more times we get to hear that, and I'm thrilled about that. So get down there if you can. Otherwise, tune in 6 o'clock ESPN Plus, ESPN Deportes, and root on United. Hopefully, we can come away with the 3 points like everybody on this show predicted, except for Harry because he's a buzzkill. Actually, no, Harry, you're not a buzzkill. You're probably the one that's going to be right. But what fun is that? And so we'll be back next Tuesday, 9 o'clock. Hopefully, Earl will be here. He should be, as far as I know. We'll be able to talk about that. And can't wait for that. Can't wait to see you guys again. Thank you, everybody that's been in the chat. Adrian, Aaron, Harry, Steve. We'll hopefully have you guys next week. And again, I'm giddy to be back weekly, having live soccer to talk about, being able to talk to you guys. Shout out to these kits, by the way. They are absolutely beautiful, and I so happy that I got both of them. I got the away one over here too. The wife doesn't need to see that credit card bill. So, but yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday, 9 o'clock, right here on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And can't wait to be back with you guys. And until then, somos unidos.